So one of the biggest things I've been talking about over the last couple of videos is what would Dragon Ball Super possibly do with Broly and how can they utilize his character in the future of the series? And for all of my thoughts on this subject, I have to say, I think the best way to use Broly is just to keep him in the movies. Let's give him another trilogy. I think that would be the best thing. Let's get into it.
Hey YouTubers, don't forget to subscribe and follow me on these social media platforms. Enjoy the video.
So a lot of people are going to start asking me about the continuation of Dragon Ball Super in the anime, or the manga. I mean, obviously the manga is continuing, but you guys know what I mean, and whether or not Broly is going to be a mainstay in the overall series. In fact, in the lead up to Dragon Ball Super Broly, there was a lot of people, my friends included, saying that they wanted Broly to be a mainstay in the series. Like, he felt like a good character. They were going to develop him in future arcs and iterations of this show and series and just in general, and he would become someone who was akin to what Vegeta was in Dragon Ball Z. I don't see that happening. As I said in my last video, when it comes to Oob's character and the closeness that the 10-year time skip is getting to the very end of Dragon Ball Z, Broly's character, at least how he was reintroduced in Dragon Ball Super Broly, and Oob's character as we took him at the end of Dragon Ball Z are kind of the same character. They take up the exact same narrative space, and I don't see them coexisting in any real way, shape, or form. That isn't to say Broly's character is someone who would be completely thrown to the wayside after the major success of this movie. In fact, I think that there's a lot of room to continue to use him and maybe even use him to introduce other characters in the Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z, maybe even Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, or any other kind of timeline that they want to adapt into the official movie, television show, manga canon, whatever that is on this series anymore. And I think I understand a way how. Now, this isn't a pitch, but just let me explain. Broly's character introduced in Dragon Ball Super Broly, leaving him on his home planet, not Planet Vegeta, but the one that him and Paragus lived on for the majority of Broly's life, really looking forward to Goku and him kind of coming back together, fighting, and settling the grudge match that they started within this movie. And I know it's not a grudge match, but you guys know what I mean. It's just a little bit of shorthand. I think it'd be great to bring back Broly in a major way that focuses not only on his character, but not him as a villain. Don't utilize him as a villain, but more so as a way of fanning the fires of the nostalgia boom that Dragon Ball is going on over the last couple years and showcasing Broly, his power, and his usefulness. The best way I can put this is a lot of people have been promoting people like Janemba and Cooler and all these other movie villains to be canonized next after Dragon Ball Super Broly, and I think that that is the best way to do it. But I would say one of the things you could do with someone like Cooler is figure out a way to skip the first Cooler arc in that movie and jump right into the meta Cooler with the Big Getty Star, have a army of Coolers attacking the bigger universe of Universe 7, trying to take over it entirely, maybe even trying to get all of the Super Dragon Balls, really link up all the stuff that was introduced in Dragon Ball Super, where you have Cooler doing his best to take over Universe 7. And this would give us an ample opportunity to reintroduce Broly and his usefulness to Universe 7 as a whole. No, it's not his movie entirely, but he could be a major focal point as to why Goku, Vegeta, maybe even Beerus and Whis and all the other people in Universe 7 survive the onslaught of what Cooler becomes. I'm not saying Cooler has to be Frieza's brother. I'm not saying it has to be anyone related to Frieza, but just simply the idea of the Big Getty Star and an army of incredibly powerful mechanized warriors attacking not just Earth in Universe 7, but attacking the entire universe. Maybe even going a little bit further and having them attack all of Universe 6 so we can get back into Universe 6 and have a lot of fun playing in that sandbox. That would be pretty awesome. You could have the exact same narrative arc with Broly going up against whatever evils come out of something like Janemba, attacking the entire universe in Universe 7 instead of just Earth, where it's all centralized for Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Goten, and Trunks and everybody else to focus on and fight those antagonists. If you're going to have Broly sitting out in the middle of nowhere in this vast universe where you're already allowed to play in the sandbox of a multiverse, then have a universal threat where Broly has to come in and show his worth and maybe even be a mainstay where Goku and Vegeta and everyone else can trust him because he's fighting for the greater good before you reintroduce him into a third movie within the new movie franchise or whatever they want to do with the movies in the future to showcase that he is now Goku, Vegeta, and everyone else's friend and he's fighting on the right team, but just as something that's a little bit bigger than what was showcased in Dragon Ball Super Broly or what is going to be showcased in Dragon Ball Super Broly 2, whatever this ends up being, whether they're going to introduce another villain from the Dragon Ball Z movies or not. You guys understand what I mean here. We're just going to have to jump up the scale. If Broly was an Earth threat, Goku and Vegeta on a weekend or maybe just one afternoon going on and fighting Broly, then Broly in the next movie has to go up against a universal threat. And then in the third movie with his character, maybe even the main focus of that story, it has to be Broly versus someone who is a multiversal threat. And that way we can get Broly going up against, or at least working with people, not only Goku and Vegeta, but also Hit and Kaba and Kale and Caulifla from Universe 6, but maybe even Jiren and the Pride Troopers from Universe 11. And to me, that would be really awesome. And I think there's a lot of ideas that you can utilize that for. I'm just saying that if you're going to utilize Broly in the next couple of films or the next couple of arcs, or whatever they want to do with him, they need to figure out a way to make him the side focus character to someone who, we need your power, we need your power-ups in order to help save not only the universe but the multiverse as well, to get Goku and Vegeta on his side, and for the fans to realize that Broly is going to be a good guy, but maybe not the person who's going to be side by side with Goku and Vegeta on every single little thing. If he's going to be put into the fold, it's going to be a major problem. He's going to be fighting for the people and planet and everything else that he loves, and not anything related to his Saiyan heritage or Goku, Vegeta, or anybody else. He is going to be fighting for his own reasons, and I think that various villains from the original Dragon Ball Z movies can be reintroduced into the canon of the show to showcase that Broly is now a good guy and will help fight for the major team, even though he's not directly doing it. Guys, what are your thoughts on this? As I've said in a couple other videos, Broly is an interesting character to me, and while I want him to join the main cast in some way, shape, or form, I feel like it's just hard to do that, especially as we're getting closer and closer to the introduction of Oob. And as I've already stated in my last video, that this character is, in his reintroduced form, is really kind of the same thing as Oob, honestly, at this point. Like, he's sympathetic, but also has a tendency for rage. And while we haven't seen any tendency with rage with Oob, at least in the last part of Dragon Ball Z, it's not unheard of. I mean, he is a reincarnation of Kid Buu, who was the embodiment of absolute rage in the end of Dragon Ball Z. So I would imagine that if they ever get to a point to develop Majin Buu or Kid Buu or Oob's character, they would really dive into that personality trait of his and showcase that that's where a lot of his power comes from. So Broly and Oob have a lot of similar character traits which would stomp all over each other, and realize that they can't focus on both of them. So regulating Broly to canonized versions of the show that take place within one movie or another, where they don't have to recreate the events of Dragon Ball Super Broly, but they can just keep him on the sidelines for all the big event movies where a lot of fans will come out and go see it just because it's Broly. And this would serve as keeping him as less of a commodity in all of the other iterations of Dragon Ball other than the video games, making the movies much bigger deals than they ever had to be, and also serving to grow the franchise. Maybe I'm wrong here. Tell me in the comment section below whether you think that I'm just looking at it in the wrong way, wrong-headed, or anything else like that. I hope everyone has enjoyed the video, and I hope everyone will go down, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell over by the subscriber button to notify you every single time I upload. Also like the video as well. Go down to the description section below, hit that link, and go follow me on Twitter if you want to talk to me more about Dragon Ball Super Broly, or anything else that I cover on YouTube
or Twitter or anything else, like horror movie topics, the Saw franchise, Halloween, Friday the 13th, anything else. And also anything that you just want to talk about in general. It's so much easier to talk over on Twitter than it is on YouTube. So I hope everyone would go down and follow me on that. Anyway, guys, it's been real.